The Allies strike back. U.S. warplanes scream into the sky to bomb Iraqi targets. And President Bush warns, we'll do it again. But a defiant Saddam Hussein vows to fight back in what he calls a holy war.
This is a CBS News special report. Target Iraq. From CBS News headquarters in New York, here is Dan Rather.
Good evening. The guns of January. It was 30 minutes of thunder in southern Iraq, the first major Allied attack on Saddam Hussein since the Persian Gulf War 2 years ago. The targets today were anti-aircraft missile sites, radars, and command and control facilities in the no-fly zone below the 32nd parallel. The attacks were limited in scope and in duration. They were intended to deliver a political message, not any crushing military blow. Bomb damage assessments won't be available until after reconnaissance flights in daylight, but U.S. officials say they believe they've scored a big hit. There were no U.S. casualties reported. Baghdad radio says the Allied attacks killed 1 Iraqi soldier and 3 civilians and blew up a lot of sand. President Bush followed up by ordering a battalion of U.S. Army ground troops from the 1st Cavalry Unit, Fort Hood, Texas, to Kuwait to guard against any conceivable more border raids by the Iraqis inside Kuwait. More than 100 planes were involved in the attack, U.S., British, and French, from bases in Saudi Arabia and from the U.S. Navy carrier in the Persian Gulf. CBS News correspondent Barry Peterson is aboard the USS Kitty Hawk.
We're just like we're supposed to. Smooth as silk.
Oh, it was perfect. It was all the practice paid off. It was just like clockwork.
We got all the jets up and across the target like we were supposed to.
They came home singing the sweet song of success. Mission accomplished, bombs delivered, Saddam Hussein put in his place.
These guys are the heroes. Without these guys, we couldn't have gotten the airplanes to go ahead and hit the target. We hit the target. Thanks, guys.
They faced Iraqi opposition. At least 4 SAM missiles reportedly fired at American jets. Lots of anti-aircraft fire. But Iraqi pilots wisely stayed away from the danger zone.
They were shooting up a little bit, but nothing close to us.
The Americans were able to mobilize so quickly because there was a plan already in place. It was devised during last week's crisis over Iraq's anti-aircraft missiles.
And the message that the admiral commanding the battle group was delivered.
We have been, quite frankly, preparing ourselves for this mission for a considerable amount of time.
Among the ordnance loaded on the planes were missiles especially designed to find and destroy radar installations and huge laser-guided bombs, the bunker busters of the Gulf War. The men who loaded the bombs scrawled messages of their own, said one, 2,000 pounds of American anger.
Actually, loading weapons this size makes us pumped up. I think it's about time we finally did something. I mean, the UN is doing as much as they can to keep the peace, and I think Iraq's about pushed us too far.
Really out of here.
In a ship tingling with anticipation and excitement, the calmest men before the mission were the pilots themselves.
Train like you fight like you train. Have fun.
They got their last-minute targeting information and their directions to and from the strike zone and tried to make it sound like something as easy and straightforward as driving down the freeway back home.
Okay, on deck, everybody stay up R button 19, and then just give me a heads up when you're up and ready. And then when all of us are up, I'll give Hodog a call and let him know that we as a flight are ready to go.
It is just daylight now in the Persian Gulf, the first chance for reconnaissance planes and spy satellites to assess the damage. The fear now is retaliation. No one knows how many missiles or planes Saddam Hussein has left, but there is a sense that since we hit him, he may try somehow, somewhere, to hit back. And Dan, the Kitty Hawk is shuddering and thundering this morning in this Persian Gulf dawn as more jets warm up for morning patrols over southern Iraq. And a large part of those patrols will be a chance to look down and see just how much damage they did and if the mission truly was accomplished. Dan?
Barry Peterson, live from the Kitty Hawk, thanks. For official Iraqi reaction, I paid a visit a short while ago to Iraq's ambassador to the United Nations and a close confidant of Saddam Hussein at his residence here in New York City. What do you think are the most important telltale signs over the next 24 hours as to how this situation is going to go?
Well, I think if the Western members of the Council will keep pushing Iraq around on the issues that are at discussion, I think we are going to have the tension with us for quite some time, and I think we'll be having more crises.
More crises, not
Yes.
an end to it.
We'll have more crises if they keep pushing Iraq around.
You expect Iraq will be hit again?
Yes.
Why in the world would Saddam Hussein even entertain the notion that he might get a arrangement, a better deal, a better situation from President-elect Clinton?
Well, I think that the thinking in Baghdad, that the new administration will probably carry new ideas and definitely be a new group of people, different kind of thinking about some issues with more focus on domestic issues, and that at some point they will try to look into dealing with Iraq. Not to say they sort of change the policy 180 degrees, but at least to leave some room for the Iraqi government to be on the track and dealing directly with the United States and conducting a constructive dialogue.
Your country has been sawed off, if you will, in the north, area for the Kurds, sawed off, at least for the time being, in the south. You have no friends in the west. Realistically, how long can Saddam Hussein survive?
If somebody is in the corner, whether a leader or a government or a people, which is the case of Iraq, they will have to strive to survive and to try to do anything that will help out in their endeavor.
Many Americans are saying Saddam Hussein must be crazy. He must be absolutely mad. Could you address yourself to that?
Well, I know the man. I think he's a very responsible man, and he understands a lot about the outside world. He understands a lot about foreign policy, and he cares for his people. Whatever you or others could say about him, that's from the outside. I don't think it's accurate.
President-elect Clinton is quoted tonight as saying he would not rule out going to war with Iraq, but he also said he will judge Saddam Hussein by Saddam Hussein's behavior. And in an interview with Thomas Friedman of the New York Times, Mr. Clinton said the United States and Iraq can have a normal relationship if Saddam complies with the UN ceasefire agreement. Clinton said he expects Saddam to test him, and he expects to meet the challenge. By the way, you can see more of our interview with the Iraqi ambassador to the United States on the CBS News overnight broadcast Up to the Minute and tomorrow morning on CBS This Morning. Saddam Hussein went on Iraqi television overnight with his defiant answer to the Allied raids. It is now Thursday morning in Baghdad, and CBS News correspondent Bob Simon is there. Bob?
Good morning, Dan. The official Iraqi news agency has now come out with casualty figures. It says that 1 Iraqi soldier was killed and 3 were wounded, and that 1 Iraqi civilian was killed and 4 were wounded in what it calls a bombing of a residential area near Basra. Now, whether the action last night is going to succeed in altering Saddam's behavior is something we're going to see over the next few days. Whether it succeeds in weakening Saddam is another question entirely, and I think very doubtful. According to diplomatic sources here, and according to what we've observed ourselves, the issues involved here are issues in which Saddam enjoys very, very wide popular support. The whole concept of the no-fly zone is not accepted by Iraqis as something that was designed to protect the Shiite population in the south, the way Washington claims it was. Iraqis see it as an attempt to divide and destroy Iraq itself, and therefore Saddam's shenanigans over the last few days in coming to the defense of it have enjoyed support. This whole business about the incursions into Kuwait. Remember, this area was Iraq before the war. The border was moved by the United Nations subsequently, again seen here as an infringement on Iraqi sovereignty, something that Saddam also has a lot of support behind him on. Now, there was a strange echo from Desert Storm this morning. Remember, 2.5 years ago, Saddam said if he's being called upon to withdraw from Kuwait, what about Israeli withdrawal from occupied territories? Well, in Cairo, the Arab League is criticizing the bombing, saying something very, very close to that. If Saddam is being held to UN resolutions, what about the UN resolutions calling on Israel to return the deportees who are now in Lebanon? I think we're going to be hearing a lot of this. I don't think that the bombing is going to play very well in the streets of the Arab world. Dan?
Bob Simon, live from Baghdad. Thanks. Coming up next on our CBS News special report tonight, we'll take you to a U.S. Army base that's sending 1,000 soldiers back to Kuwait. So stay here with us.
The first time I switched pain relievers, it was from aspirin to Tylenol. Then recently, I switched again, from Tylenol acetaminophen to Advil. You see, I got these really pounding headaches, and I found Tylenol didn't always get rid of all the pain. So I tried Advil and found that for my really tough headaches, 2 Advil worked better than 2 extra-strength Tylenol tablets, better than Tylenol gel caps. For my tough headaches, Advil just works better.
And for a cold, try Advil Cold and Sinus, advanced formula for the cold season.
Why brew a pot when you only want a cup? Try Folgers Coffee Singles, made with ground roast coffee and its own filter for one freshly brewed cup. Folgers Coffee Singles, the ultimate one-cup coffee machine.
Ooh, it took a cold morning like this one for me to discover a really great hot cereal for my family. And who would have expected? It's grape nuts. I just pour grape nuts, add milk, and microwave for a minute. It's got a warm, smooth, hearty taste that's so delicious we all love it. And grape nuts is fat-free. It's the perfect way to help keep us all going on a cold winter's morning. Hot, delicious grape nuts. Try it for yourself.
Hot or cold, breakfast with Post-Grape Nut cereal helps keep you going strong all morning long.
You want a ½ pound of regular Swiss cheese? You want all that fat, cholesterol, sodium, and calories? No, 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 no. Not in this deli. I'm giving you Alpine Lace Swiss low because I care how you and you eat.
Well, the first time I tried it, it was like, whoa, this is a new experience.
Introducing new Arm & Hammer Dental Care Tartar Control Gel.
With the Arm & Hammer Tartar Control, it's just like I left the dentist chair. You know that polish feeling you get when the tartar's gone and your teeth feel brand new. Arm & Hammer is the only tartar control gel with baking soda, which makes my dentist happy, and a fresh mint taste, which makes me happy. So now I get that fresh from the dentist feeling anytime I feel like it.
New Arm & Hammer Tartar Control Gel for that healthy, fresh from the dentist feeling of clean. Try it.
The stuff is excellent.
The U.S. Army troops that President Bush ordered to Kuwait today are from the 1st Cavalry Division based at Fort Hood, Texas. Scott Pelley is at Fort Hood tonight. Scott?
Dan, the first troops to be deployed to Kuwait will be in the air about 12 hours from now. This is a very rapid deployment from this post in central Texas, and the soldiers here are working well into the night to get about 1,000 men and women ready to go. The soldiers of the 1st Cavalry were surprised to be back in the post gymnasium going through the deployment routine. Many of them had just returned from Kuwait only 3 weeks ago. Suddenly, here they were again, getting their shots, filling out their wills.
First of all, these wills are valid till the day you die.
It was another quick goodbye for the Forey family. Sergeant Robin Forey was one of those who came home only last month. His son, Robbie, is 7 months old.
I really don't like it, but that's my job. I gotta do it. Hopefully he learns his lesson this time.
He, of course, is Saddam Hussein. Many of the soldiers we talked to here today said they would like to go in and finish the job. They feel like they never had a chance to finish before. But, of course, the 1st Cav will probably be a show of force. No actual combat is expected. All of the heavy equipment, the tanks and the artillery pieces, are already in Kuwait. The soldiers will probably be there by the weekend. Dan?
Scott Pelley with the 1st Cav at Fort Hood. Thanks. The Allied air raids were aimed at crippling Iraq's anti-aircraft defenses in the southern no-fly zone below the 32nd parallel. You may want to note that incursions by the Iraqis were reported in the northern no-fly zone up where the Kurds are. The Iraqis say they believe that the U.S. struck no targets in that area because of concerns from Turkey. The targets hit today were aimed at sending a message to Saddam Hussein nonetheless. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin is covering the story from the Pentagon.
The planes waited for the weather to clear and night to fall, then launched from the carrier Kitty Hawk. 112 aircraft in all, counting U.S. Air Force jets flying out of bases in Saudi Arabia. Their targets were 4 radar sites in southern Iraq, along with the mobile surface-to-air missile batteries which had been at the center of this latest confrontation.
There were some mobile SAM sites generally in the Basra area and in the Talil area that were also attacked.
The commander of the operation sounded cautiously optimistic the targets were destroyed.
Based on pilot reports, based on what we know to be true, we believe that it has been successful.
The planes were over their targets for less than 30 minutes. The attackers included stealth fighters armed with 2,000-pound laser-guided bombs, while above them circled Navy and Air Force fighters guarding against Iraqi jets. They all came back safely and are ready to do it again, no matter who is president.
It's conceivable we might have to do it again before we leave on January 20th. It's conceivable that President Clinton may have to do it on January 21st. The point for Saddam Hussein to understand is the United States means business. We've had an election, but it's not going to change the policy of the U.S. towards Iraq.
Saddam Hussein seemed to want this confrontation. Beginning last month, he sent his jets to violate the no-fly zone over southern Iraq.
Clear to kill, clear to kill. He's a bandit.
One of those jets never came back.
Benji, splash one.
Twice, Iraqi warplanes actually tried to shoot down American aircraft that patrol the no-fly zone. Saddam refused to back down in the face of repeated warnings. Then there were no more warnings.
I would think that soon Saddam Hussein would understand that we mean what we say and that we back it up.
One theory for why Saddam insists on picking fights he can't win is that he's trying to show his own people he can take the worst George Bush has to offer and still outlast him. If that theory is true, there could be more Iraqi provocations and more American airstrikes between now and next Wednesday. Dan?
David Martin at the Pentagon, thanks. We'll be checking back in with you again as we go along. You may want to note that the United States tonight is reported to have told its allies last week to expect 2 or 3 days of attacks on Iraq once the attack started. Whether that is the current thinking in Washington and other Western capitals, we'll have to wait and see. Even as today's bombing raids were in progress, Iraq said it would stop its daily cross-border raids into Kuwait. Correspondent Tom Fenton has been covering that part of the conflict, and he joins us now live on the telephone from Kuwait City. Tom?
Dan, good morning. Well, elsewhere in the Arab world, there may be some unhappiness about the raids. In Cairo, the Arab League talks about a double standard concerning UN resolutions on the one hand, and resolutions about Israel on the other hand, resolutions that apply to Iraq. But there's no unhappiness here. There's unreserved approval for the raids. One Kuwaiti said they hit the wrong target. They should have hit Saddam Hussein. The Iraqis were particularly, the Kuwaitis, I'm sorry, were particularly concerned about these Iraqi incursions into Kuwaiti territory to remove war supplies and other material from a former Iraqi naval base. Iraq now says, we note that it will stop, but there isn't much left for the Iraqis to take. They've sort of cleaned out everything up there that was of any value. The Kuwaitis are also very happy about the impending arrival of this battalion, this American battalion, to help protect this country, which can do very little to protect itself against its large neighbor. So happiness here, pretty much universal. Dan?
Tom Fenton, thanks. Stay with us now for a look ahead at what this parting shot from President Bush might mean for Saddam Hussein and for the rest of us, and for Bill Clinton.
I used to think that having a bran muffin and coffee for breakfast was a great way to lose weight. Boy, was I wrong. Just one incredibly delicious Ultra Slim Fast fruit juice shake has less than half the calories and 75% less fat. In fact, it would be hard to find a breakfast this low in fat and calories and as high in this many of the nutrients doctors recommend. So a Slim Fast shake is a lot more than a great way to lose weight. It's a healthy way to start the day.
It always happens at the worst time. A sudden attack of diarrhea. And you'd give anything to get back in control. Introducing Pepto Diarrhea Control. It's made with the strongest diarrhea medicine you can buy. So it often stops diarrhea the first time you take it. Nothing works better than this. And this is from Pepto-Bismol. Take control with new Pepto Diarrhea Control.
We're starving and we're trapped.
On Friday, January 15th, Touchstone and Paramount Pictures present a motion picture that will astonish you. It will frighten you. It will shock you.
We've got to eat.
He would.
But nothing will prepare you for what 16 survivors did to stay alive.
From their death, we live.
Alive. Based on a true story. Rated R. Starts Friday, January 15th at a theater near you.
Are you using yesterday's makeup for today's face? Estee Lauder Research presents Lucidity Light Diffusing Makeup. It allows color to glide on, reflecting light away from imperfections. It moisturizes and protects in shades to match every skin tone. And Lucidity looks natural, even in sunlight. Now receive a free 10-day supply in your own shade with any Estee Lauder purchase. This week only in the ladies' cosmetic collection at Kastner Knott.
Joining us now for analysis to add context and perspective to today's developments in Iraq, our friend and CBS News consultant Fuad Ajami of Johns Hopkins University. Professor Ajami, good to see you again. President-elect Clinton is suggesting that it's possible to have better relations with Saddam Hussein. At the same time, he and his people have been sending out strong signals. Don't expect us to be any softer on you, Saddam. What's all this about?
Well, exactly. You know what was really interesting up in the broadcast, the interview you had with Nizar Hamdoun. Nizar Hamdoun, the ambassador to the UN, is one of Saddam's handlers, one of his interpreters of America. And if you listen to that interview, the message is, look, we know that Clinton, he was elected to tackle the economy. He was elected to tackle healthcare. He was elected to pay attention to his own country. He doesn't want to go to Iraq. He doesn't want to order the politics of the Persian Gulf. So there are all kinds of expectations, in effect, in Baghdad. And a little knowledge can be a very dangerous thing. Saddam could again fancy himself to be a reader of American politics, an expert on American politics, and he could think that he could get a better deal from Clinton than he did from Bush. And look, Clinton held for him an air raid in one arm and an olive branch in the other. So the bazaar is open in many ways, and Saddam could still say, hey, look, I opened this American bazaar.
My memory may be faulty, but didn't George Bush, as he came into the presidency, say to the Iranians, look, it's a new day and we can begin afresh?
Exactly. The message then was goodwill begets goodwill. This was the message to the Iranians. In the end, the Iranians didn't go through the door that Bush opened for them. Now, will Saddam go through the door that Clinton has opened for him? Will he read Clinton right? But if he tests Clinton too early, Clinton is a young president. He's coming in. Though he doesn't want to go to the Persian Gulf, and he may not be the foreign policy president that Bush was, he also doesn't want to be shown to be a weak man. He can't do any worse on Iraq than Bush did.
Quickly, what's the reaction to all of this in the rest of the Arab world?
This will be very interesting, because the rest of the Arab world, since the Arab world watches America very carefully and watches the American election very carefully, this interview you quoted of Tom Friedman, the interview with Bill Clinton saying, hey, I can deal with Saddam. I'm not obsessed with Saddam. The Arabs will be reading this interview. They will be looking at Clinton because they're worried about the next occupant of the White House. What kind of man is he? What kind of commitments does he have? What kind of fiber? What's his willingness to use force? Bush they knew, and they respected and they dealt with. Clinton is terra incognita. It's an unknown territory.
Did they consider Bush, quote, obsessed with Saddam Hussein?
I think so. I mean, in large parts of the Arab world, in that Arab street that, in a way, didn't sanction the war against Saddam, they believe it had become a test of wills between two men. So all kinds of hopes are pinned on Clinton.
Fuad Ajami, thanks. Coming up next, we will look at what may lie ahead in the Iraq story, which is continuing as we speak. What lies ahead, militarily and politically? We'll deal with that coming up next.
You want regular cheddar cheese? You want all that fat, cholesterol, and calories? No, not in this deli. I'm giving you Alpine Lace fat-free cheese products because I care how you and you eat.
Do you know what you need to know about managing your money? Take the Wall Street Journal personal finance test and find out. Are you wasting money by buying a car rather than leasing it? Are there drawbacks to refinancing a loan at a lower rate? When can you throw away old tax returns?
You'll find the answers in this free book, The Wall Street Journal Guide to Understanding Personal Finance.
The guide is filled with information, from financing your new car to refinancing your home. There's even information on how to lower your taxes. It's yours free when you subscribe to The Wall Street Journal.
Every business day, The Wall Street Journal gives you the news, analysis, and insights you need to make the right decisions for your business, your career, your future.
Subscribe now to the Wall Street Journal. Get 13 weeks of the journal for $37, over 20% off the newsstand price, and your free copy of the Guide to Personal Finance.
Call 800-525-8400. That's 800-525-8400.
original cleaner, Prel Green, is back. Work.
Clean.
There's no cleaner clean.
Well clean.
I pretty much thought all tartar control toothpastes were the same until I tried Arm & Hammer tartar control gel.
Introducing new Arm & Hammer Dental Care Tartar Control Gel.
It makes me feel like the dentist just cleaned my teeth. You really feel like the tartar's all gone, and there's nothing left but clean. Arm & Hammer is the only tartar control gel with baking soda, which my dentist recommends, and the fresh mint taste, which I love. So now I get that fresh from the dentist feeling twice a day and not just twice a year.
New Arm & Hammer Tartar Control Gel for that healthy, fresh from the dentist feeling of clean. Try it.
As we continue our live special report on the Allied attack on Iraq today, we are joined by retired U.S. Marine General George Christ, our consultant on military matters and a man who once commanded U.S. forces in and around the Persian Gulf. CBS News national security correspondent David Martin at the Pentagon again, and CBS News White House correspondent Susan Spencer live from Little Rock. Bill Clinton becomes commander-in-chief 1 week from today, inheriting, among other things, a headache named Saddam Hussein. So, Susan, how do the Clinton people feel about the timing of the attack on Iraq?
Well, Dan, if the truth be known, I think Bill Clinton is probably sitting around the old kitchen table tonight saying, thank you, thank you. This gives him a little bit of breathing room. It'll make it much easier for him to carry through a policy like this than I think it would have been to come slamming into the Oval Office as a brand new president without much foreign policy experience and to try to initiate this action. It also has given him an opportunity to say to the world, look, I'm going to be just as tough as George Bush was. The question, of course, is whether he can be any more successful.
6 days from now, it will be Bill Clinton's problem. Does he think that he can keep his major focus on domestic affairs, principally the economy, in the face of what's happening in Iraq, in what used to be Yugoslavia and Somalia, and inside the Soviet Union, and the long list of foreign crisis points?
Well, he insists that he can. You know, that phrase about how he was going to focus on the economy like a laser may come back to haunt him. But he insists that absolutely he will be able to do that, and that furthermore he has to. One of the things that he was so critical of the president of during the campaign was that he didn't draw the relationship between these two things. And Clinton's point has been all along that you have to have a strong domestic economy in order to be successful in foreign affairs, and so he'll try to do it. I don't know whether he'll be able to or not. There's an awful lot going on out there.
Let's move over to General George Christ. General, Saddam Hussein says he's going to retaliate, says he's going to respond in kind. What can he do? What are his options?
Dan, conventional wisdom says he can't do anything with his airplanes or his missiles, but how about unconventional or irrational retaliation? There's 4 Iraqi divisions near Basra, a Republican Guard division. They have tanks and they have artillery. They could try something along the Kuwaiti border. It would probably be suicide. On the other hand, we only have air to repel them. So it's an irrational possibility.
Now, there's a lot of talk in Washington that President Bush declined the advice of a lot of people he asked about this to, quote, walk it right on up to Baghdad to deliver a much larger strike. Your expectation, is it going to be strike for a while now as this crisis eventually goes to bombing of Baghdad?
Dan, I think that the targets are there. It will be escalation, bigger each time, north of the 32nd, larger targets, and on the way to Baghdad, absolutely.
Let's move this over to David Martin at the Pentagon. David, what are the potential next targets if President Bush, as is widely expected, whether it proves to be the case or not, decides to strike again?
Well, if we have more violations of this no-fly zone in the south, or I guess even the no-fly zone that's in the north of Iraq, I think the most likely next targets would be Iraqi airfields. There's one problem with that, and that is that Saddam has dispersed many of his aircraft into civilian neighborhoods where they're essentially immune from attack because of the fear of civilian casualties. It's an easy job, relatively easy for the U.S. Air Force and the Navy to crater runways, but of course runways can always be repaired. So the airfields are a logical target, but not all that lucrative a target.
And President-elect Clinton has said there's no daylight between him and President Bush on policy regards Iraq. What about the incoming Secretary of Defense, Les Aspin, and the outgoing Secretary, Dick Cheney?
Well, they'd probably tell you that there's no daylight between the two of them either, but the fact is that all summer, Les Aspin was giving speeches criticizing the Bush administration for not being more forceful in going after Saddam Hussein, and he, I think, was the one who coined the phrase that George Bush was guilty of threat and forget. He'd say look out, Saddam, if you keep doing this, we're going to do something. Saddam would do it a little more, and George Bush would not do anything. So at least on paper, Les Aspin would have to be called a hawk on Iraq.
David Martin, Susan Spencer, General Christ, thanks. CBS News will be following the Iraq story closely for you in the hours and days ahead. We'll be following it moment to moment. Russ Mitchell and Monica Gale will be along shortly on many of these CBS stations with the latest on Up to the Minute. That's overnight. Harry Smith and Paula Zahn will have all the overnight developments first thing in the morning on CBS this morning. We'll have a lot more of the interview that we did tonight with the Iraqi ambassador, Nazar Hamdoun. I'll see you again tomorrow on what, if any, special reports may be necessary and on the CBS Evening News. For now, Dan Rather, CBS News reporting from New York. Good night.
Experience CBS News. This is CBS.
Ponderosa announces Economic Recovery 1993. A new year, a great plan. Complete dinners at a price sure to brighten your economic outlook. Just $5.99. Juicy sirloin tips or tender broiled chicken. Complete with baked potato, grand buffet, and Sunday bar. All just $5.99. Ponderosa's Economic Recovery Plan 1993. It's our way of stimulating your economy and your appetite.
Come and get it at Ponderosa.
I feel really good about the weight loss. It's a big success in my life. I feel about 1.5 inches taller. Nutrisystem really is working on helping people learn how to eat right. You are the one who is in control, and they help you to understand that. I love short skirts. I haven't worn them in 20 years. I am in control of my weight.
Now, lose all the weight you can and pay $1 per pound plus your meals. $1 per pound. Call Nutrisystem now.
There's a bit of buyer's remorse going around these days because not everyone shops H.H. Gregg.
I wish I hadn't bought it. It was a terrible mistake.
There's really no substitute for quality.
I wish I bought it at H.H. Gregg.
That's why Gregg sells only name brand appliances and electronics at honest low prices.
What a fool I've been! Why didn't you stop me?